Let me guess. You've been doing the work, you've been showing up, you're thinking positive, you're saying all the right affirmations. In your bedroom right now, you got the vision board of the next 10 years of how your life is going to look like. You're listening to the right podcast shows, you're reading all the right books, trying to keep your energy high, but somehow your results still don't match your effort. And I know how frustrating that is because you're going to start thinking to yourself, maybe I'm not doing enough. Or perhaps maybe I'm missing something. And then you start asking some really deep questions like, what else do I have to do right now for my life to finally respond to the life that I want? But I think this is what most entrepreneurs, creatives, and professionals don't truly understand is this, that your results are spiritual before they are practical. Now, before you click off and read off, is this a religious video? This isn't necessarily a religious video because when I say spiritual, I'm not talking about crystals or religion or rituals. I'm actually talking about the laws, the unseen principles that govern every part of reality. Because whether you believe it or not, the universe is always responding, not to what you do first, but to who you are while you're doing it. Now, when you think about what I just said there, you see, I think that's the part that most people miss. You see, this is why you can do all the right things. And I know you've been doing all the right things and still not see the right results. And I know it's not because you're inconsistent, lazy, or undisciplined. It's because there is a law at work that nobody ever taught you. They didn't teach you this in school. And I know this because I used to fall into the same trap. I was trying hard, I was pushing hard, I was doing more, but I was still getting the same results because I ignored this spiritual law that I'm about to teach you. But everything changed for me when I finally understood this law. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to use that particular law so you can finally make your results match your effort. So if this is your very first time on the YouTube, welcome back to the channel. This is where we merge universal principles that govern success with the practical system and elite level execution that sustains it. So as always, why don't you grab a pen and paper and let's get to work. We're going to dive really deep into this one. So we've talked about effort, we've talked about doing all the right things, and now let's go a little bit deeper. I want us to talk about this physical reality, the outer world. You see, if your outer world isn't matching your inner effort, it's not a sign to work harder, it's actually a sign to look higher. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. You see, your results are being governed by a law most people never learn, and that law is the law of correspondence. Perhaps you've heard that before, maybe you've not heard that before, but that law simply states that as above, so below, as within, so without. And what that means for you is that your results right now that you're experiencing in this physical reality are just a reflection of another reality. They are a mirror of what's happening on the inside. You see, most people believe that effort alone changes results because you see them trying harder, working harder, just doing things just based on effort. But perhaps that's what you've been doing, relying on effort alone. But that's only half of the equation. To change your outer reality, this physical reality, you've got to start with your inner one. And when I say inner reality, I'm actually talking about your beliefs, your emotions, and your thoughts. Because your internal world is what's setting the tone for everything that shows up externally. Now, let me make this as practical as possible for you. Because I know when we start talking about realities, some people get a little bit confused. It's like, what's this all about? Okay, so here's the truth. You are actually living on three planes of existence simultaneously at the same time. The very first plane is the spiritual plane, your true essence, the unseen power of who you really are. The second one is the mental plane. This is where your ideas, imagination, and intentions are formed. And then you have the physical plane, the 3D reality we're experiencing right now. You can touch, see, and measure. But here's why I believe that most people get it wrong. Most people try to change their physical reality first before they change their mental reality and their spiritual reality. They keep fixing the effect without ever changing the course. I mean, think about it. This world right now, by the way, this physical world is the world of effect. And if you've ever studied the law of cause and effect, which is another universal laws that we talk about, is that you know that in order to change the effect, you've got to address the cause. And that cause lives in the unseen realities that I just mentioned, the mental plane and the spiritual plane. Okay, let me break a little bit down so you get a better understanding of what I'm saying. You see, your mental plane, that's where your beliefs sit. Your spiritual plane, that's your source, your identity, your essence. And then you have this physical reality, the physical plane. That's just a reflection of both the spiritual and the mental plane. Let me give you a real example of what happened in my life. You see, there was a time in my life that I was working 2 jobs. I was working as a night manager at a hotel, and I would finish early in the morning. Then I would drive about an hour back to my house only to get ready for another job. And I remember one particular morning driving back from a late night shift, and it was early morning, and I completely exhausted. I was on the motorway, I fell asleep, and then I crashed. Big crash. And I remember sitting there thinking to myself, I'm working this hard and I still feel broke. Why? I could have lost my life. And that's when I realized something really powerful. My internal reality hadn't changed yet. So my external one couldn't either. You see, my beliefs about money didn't change. I still had a broke mentality. So I was still going to keep getting broke results. You see, your outer reality, the one you can see, is just a mirror of what's happening within. And talking about mirrors, there is a famous analogy most of you have probably heard of. If you haven't heard of it, let me break it down for you. It's quite interesting, actually. Let's say you're trying to change your outward reality. Maybe it's your money, your business, or your relationship, but you still feel broke or empty internally. It's like standing in front of a mirror. Imagine there's a mirror here, and you haven't smiled at the mirror or frown at the mirror, but you expect the mirror to smile back at you and frown back at you. Or you expect the mirror to change first before you do. You see, it doesn't work like that, because the mirror is only ever going to reflect back to you what you are doing. And that's exactly how the law of correspondence actually works. That's what it's all about. As we say, as within, so without, as above, so below. So in order for me to see the mirror smile back at me or frown at me, I have to literally smile or frown at the mirror, and that's how it all works. Now the funny thing is, if you woke up in the morning and looked in the mirror and the mirror smiled at you first with a big grin on its face, you probably run out of your house thinking, nah, there's something wrong with me. I'm hallucinating. I mean, thinking that would be really creepy, wouldn't it be? And that's exactly and that's exactly the same thing we do in life. We want our results to change before we do. We want life to reflect a new image when we're still projecting the old one. And this is why I always say your results are spiritual before they are practical. Because everything you see on the outside of you is just a reflection of what's already happening within you. That is the law of correspondence in effect. The law of correspondence, which is actually the third law of the Hermetic principle, was given to us in the ancient text of the Kabbalion by the three initiatives. And what it teaches is very simple. Your outer world will always mirror your inner state. Now that you have a better understanding of how the law actually works, the next step is learning how to shift your inner reality. So now, I know you might be thinking, okay, Rudolph, I get it. I understand the law now. I understand that my inner world shapes my outer world, but what do I actually do with all this information? And that right there is why most people get stuck. They understand the law, but they don't really live it. All it does is stays in their head instead of shifting it into embodiment. They keep analyzing the principles but never apply it. You see, That's the danger with the personal development today that we have, this industry that we have, that I'm part of. We built a generation of information junkies who can quote every principle and every author, every motivational line. But when you look at their life, there is no real transformation. So this is why I'm against motivation. I'm all about transformation, because knowledge alone doesn't change your life. Embodiment does. And this is where I want you to write something down. I want you to write this down, because the next part is the bridge between knowing and doing. And I call it the embodiment shift. So get your pen and paper. Let's get into it. This is the point where you stop trying to change your results and start becoming the person who naturally produced them. You stop forcing the outer and start forming the inner. Now, let me tell you a very interesting story about one of my clients that explains this really perfectly. You see, a few months ago, I had a client, a brilliant woman, a psychiatrist in the UK. She came to me and said, Rudolph, I know I'm capable of more. I know I can do this, but my results just doesn't reflect it. And that hit me, because that's exactly where most high performers get stuck. Like, perhaps that's you. You know you have the potential, you know you're smart, you know you should be going further ahead, but for some reason the results don't match the effort. Now, the reason this particular woman joined the 12-week program, which is specifically for entrepreneurs, C-suite executives, high-performing individuals like herself, was because she realized it wasn't her strategy that needed changing, it was her self-image. She told me straight, she said, Rudolph, I want to change my inner reality. Because if I don't change how I see myself, Rudolph, my results will never change. And I really respected that from her, because that level of self-awareness is usually really rare. Now, I've been doing coaching for a very long time. It's actually really rare for people to admit that. And I said to her something that most people don't expect to hear from a personal development coach and an identity strategist like myself. I said to her, we're not starting with your goals. We're starting with your self-image. And she smiled a little bit, but I told her, look, the version of you that's doubting, overthinking, and second-guessing herself, she can't build the version of the business you're trying to create. We have to rewire that first. So the very first thing that we did, we started getting her emotionally connected to her future self. So that's what we did. We started getting her emotionally connected to her future self. The version of her who's already running a successful app, impacting people, speaking confidently, and leading a team. We started building her self-image from that reality. And slowly, the shift began to happen. She started showing up differently. She would come into our coaching session, her tone would change, her focus sharpened, her ideas started flowing. She'd be like, Rudolph, I've got a brilliant idea, I've got a great idea now. Opportunities start showing up. It's almost like the universe said to her, like, finally, you're in alignment now. And now the app that she's creating is coming together faster than she ever imagined. And the question is, why is this? Because once she changed her inner reality, her outer reality had no choice but to follow. And I know she's probably watching this video right now. So if you are, hello, you know exactly who I'm talking about. So if you're watching this video, thank you so much for watching it. But that's the power of the embodiment principle. It's not about forcing more action. It's about becoming the kind of person for whom the action is natural. Because when your self-image involves, execution becomes effortless. Now, let me make this really practical for you guys. Let me give you 3 powerful steps right now that you can start using today to shift from knowing the law to actually living it. Because I said I'm not all about information and motivation. It's about transformation. Now, if you made it this far to the video, that means you're very serious about changing your results. And you understand that results alone are not based on effort alone. If that was the case, you would have got all the results you want. So I'm going to give you 3 practical things that I teach in some of my high-paying clients to help them literally shape their reality. Number one is identify the pattern. Write that down. Grab a pen and paper and write this down. And ask yourself this question. What area of my life keeps repeating itself? Please write this down. Then next to it, what I would like for you to do, write down what's the result I just can't seem to shift. Write all of this down. Write all of this down. And I want you to be as honest as possible. Please be as transparent as you can be. Don't hold back. This is all about you. So that's the first thing. The second step I want you to do is go inward. I want you to ask yourself, what beliefs, what emotions or self-image are keeping this particular pattern alive? This is a very important question. You have to be honest with yourself here. If you're not going to be honest, it's not going to be effective. Then I want you to ask, what version of me is this result reflecting? Look at your current reality right now, your finances, your relationships, your habits, and ask, what version of me is producing these results? Remember, to change your external reality, you have to start with your internal reality. So please don't go ask your neighbor about this. Don't ask your parents. Don't ask your friends. Go inward first. And the third thing I want you to do is rehearse the new identity daily. Once you've identified this old identity and created a new one, please, you must rehearse it every single day. This is what I teach deeply inside my 12-week high definition execution system program. What you need is a system that helps you to execute consistently. Because you've tried motivation, watching all these YouTube videos, and it's not working for you. You need to change your inner reality, which is exactly what I help my clients with. Just like the psychiatrist I mentioned earlier, the one in the UK who is developing a very successful app as we speak. Once she changed her inner reality, everything else followed. And that's what will happen for you too. Once you have a system that works for you, and you're working with a particular system with who you're becoming, not who you used to be. Listen, right now you might already be successful. I know you're very successful in what you do. You're showing up, you're disciplined, but you know there's another level. So if you're ready to unlock that next level, if you're really serious about breaking that repeating pattern and finally seeing results that match your potential, there is a link in the bio where you can book a call with me right now. We can work together. Listen, on that call, we'll identify exactly where you are right now and what you're trying to achieve and how we can use this law, the law of correspondence, to help you bridge that gap. But remember this, success isn't about hard work alone. It's about becoming the kind of person who naturally produces success. It's not just about being practical. It's about being aligned. And once you become that person, effort becomes easy. So now you finally understand what I mean when I say your results are spiritual before they are practical. I know you've never heard that anywhere else, but they are, because they are governed by universal laws. Listen, I did not create these laws. You didn't create these laws. Please don't be upset with me. This is just how the universe works. I'm just a messenger. So the quicker you understand these laws, the easier life begins to flow for you. And this is exactly what we teach on this channel. So maybe you've been doing the work, but nothing's changing. Hopefully, after watching this video, things will begin to shift for you. Not because you're doing more, but because you are being more, because you've learned to change your inner reality first. And remember this, everything that happens in your external reality is only a reflection of what's happening inside. You will never rise above the image you hold of yourself. If you want to change the results, you've got to change the reflection. You don't get what you want, you get who you are. And that's the language of the universe. And once you master that, everything else starts to align. If you really enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe and like and drop your biggest takeaway in the comment section. As always, keep executing at high definition level. My name is Rudolph High Definition. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.